Hey everybody, welcome back to Reluctantly Productive. I'm F-Baby as always. Today we're taking a look at another farming route. This is in Stonefalls. We're going to start at the Fort Virac Way Shrine, and we are going to just kind of run a, as you'll see, haphazard loop around the zone. This is a good zone for general farming, but specifically this is a surprisingly good zone for Ancestor Silk. You would think with all of the mountains that ore is the more prevalent resource here, but it seems that the designers in their infinite wisdom have made this abundant with cloth. So you're just going to kind of run around here and collect everything you can. As always, I don't recommend skipping nodes, even if you're trying specifically to get cloth. If you see a plant node, just grab it. It's profit. I know that a lot of people do come to this zone to kill the Drew that are like up in the center, I guess, in that water area, and farm leather from it. I'll take a look at doing that, but in my past experience, I've never had any real success there. I found that pretty much the other leather farming routes that I've shown you guys, I almost said leather farting. The other leather farming routes that I showed you guys are better, and they're less camped. I think there's an idea that like dreg wax equals dreg or Drew. Actually, is it dreg? I don't remember. Whatever. But yeah, I've never ever found that area to be particularly successful. I think you'd actually have better luck finding or farming Nyx hounds and Korma scribs to just get jelly and decorative wax than you would to farm leather there. But I know that's not necessarily everybody's experience. Anyway, the other reason that I like running around this zone specifically is this is actually a really old farming area. You can find videos besides mine out there showing Stonefall routes from back in the day when this game actually first released. This used to be a cloth area primarily. It's one of the older farming routes that I learned. Somebody in a guild kind of showed it to me, said that this is where they got started, and then I kind of copied them. I think I mentioned in another video, I farmed most of my early days in both Bankerai and Northern Elsewhere, but Stonefalls is where I actually got like accustomed to farming, I guess, like the concepts of farming, moving quickly, and etc. That kind of leads me to a secondary public service request, if you will. If you're somebody who farms a lot, you have experience doing this sort of stuff, and somebody else asks you for help, just fucking help them. Nobody is actually impressed by your mystique. You think that you're doing yourself a favor by not telling somebody where your farming route is, and you're gonna, who's this guy who always has platinum dust? Nobody fucking cares. Trust me. The amount of times I would ask somebody like, hey, where do you get all your mats from? Or, hey, what's your route? And they just be like, lol, I'm not gonna tell you my secrets. You just sound like a fucking turd. I don't know these people personally. Obviously, I don't know them from anywhere but inside the game, I guess. But I would argue that there's only two reasons that these people are keeping themselves secret. One is that they are actually just flipping, which is fine. There's no, negative aspect to that. I actually think flipping is a great way to make money. Have videos about it on this channel. Two is they legitimately think that you're going to run over and steal all their resources. My response to that idea is that is what a fucking turd thinks. So if somebody is asking you for some help or wants some tips and pointers, please, you could show them this channel, or you could just help them. I think there's so few farmers outside of areas besides Craglorn and Hollow City that it's not going to cost you anything to go help somebody. So just be kind, be nice, and help people out. You're potentially helping a newer player become more enamored with this game. The more people playing this game, the better the game will be, because ZOS will keep putting money into it, Microsoft will keep putting money into it. Anyway, that's my plea/advice for farming in this area. If you're not interested in the book review talks that I do, then you can just click away here, click to the end. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. This week I want to talk about Essays by Michel de Montaigne. This book is fucking old. He was a 15th century French philosopher, and it is written as such. I knew very little of Montaigne. I don't have any formal training in philosophy, or, I don't have a formal education or anything. I think I've mentioned that here. I never finished college. Everything I know is some learning I've done on my own. I don't like to say self-taught because it makes it sound as though I've mastered something, when the reality is I've mastered very little. But I knew a little bit of Montaigne from various videos, podcasts. I listened to Philosophize This and their episode on him. I've watched a few longer videos exploring his works. And so I saw this book on the list of the 100 most important books or whatever the fuck that it was in the middle section, like the 40s or the 50s. And so I thought, oh, what a great chance to finally read this guy's writing. I know the things that I do like about him, and this will be a good opportunity to actually like dive into it fully. And I remembered why it is that I actually don't like reading a lot of early philosophers, because not all philosophers are great writers. And I guess early isn't quite right. Montaigne is not necessarily early by any stretch of the imagination, but these essays are incredibly meandering. And I think my big mistake here, as you can tell, I didn't care for the book, but I think my big mistake here was trying to read it as a sit-down book without just reading it an essay at a time, because they are written in essay format. He is credited with pioneering what we know now as the literary essay, so if you hate essays, then you'll definitely hate this because it's the first example of it. But I think that the true value of this book is to go through and kind of just read each essay, maybe even just a couple pages at a time, and don't look for the grand ideas. I think a lot of his ideas at this point are dated, or they are ideas that were just kind of idiosyncratic quirks to him. But look at the way he explains his ideas. Montaigne is a big believer in the idea of using reason to come to conclusions and arguments, and something that he and I agree on is the idea of testing your reason. Have arguments with people. You don't have to have passionate, heated arguments, but debates, civil debates, and not in the debate me bro kind of way where you're just trying for sound bites, but more along the lines of actually test your beliefs. Go out there and find somebody who might know more than you, find somebody who is smarter than you in one way or another, and test your beliefs. See if they can actually stand up to scrutiny, and if they can't, adapt and learn. Change your beliefs, use better reason, try to figure out what a truth is. These are ideas that he proclaims in the book several times, and those are good ideas. But it's all mixed in with a lot of references to classical history. He talks about Plutarch extensively. He references dozens of old philosophers, and he's really taken with the Stoics of the Roman period, Cicero specifically. And so it becomes kind of a slog to read, because if you're not intimately familiar with this type of ancient history, which I was not, you'll find that instead of having, these, like reading an essay and breezily coming away with some sort of information, some sort of obvious learning, it will feel more like studying, because you'll be finding yourself looking up something every 2 or 3 pages. The Penguin's classic version that I read, there are annotations to kind of clarify who he's quoting or what event he's referencing, but they're few and far between. They also assume that you have a more than just passing level of classical history under your belt to read Montaigne, and couple that in with just, ideas from the past that are not necessarily compatible with today's society. Like Montaigne, for what you can say of him, or, for any good that you can find in him, is also, much like many people of the time, just wildly casually sexist. I believe there's a passage in there, I might be misquoting here, but he says something along the lines of like, we shouldn't expect women to have good reason because they're women. And you're just like, Jesus Christ, dude, don't say shit like that. Come on, Michael. He does have some gems, of course, in his books. Like I said, you can, if I were to go back and read this in a couple years, I'd probably just take it a few pages at a time, and I'd really sit down and write down the things that stood out to me. There is a pretty famous story that he talks about, or that it has been talked about, but that he mentions his best friend in the whole world died, and he goes on at length about how no one will ever understand the relationship that he and his best friend had. And he kind of concludes this anecdote with saying, I couldn't say for any reason why I loved him other than the fact that he was him and I was me. And I think that's very pretty. Additionally, he also asks questions like, who's to say when I play with my cat, if I'm playing with my cat or if she's playing with me? It's fun to think about. It's irrelevant stuff, but he has, like I said, a lot of good lines in his essays. I just don't think that they are worth sitting down and dedicating time and reading to, unless you're already a philosophy student, in which case this is probably stuff you're used to and you're better equipped to handle it than I was. But to the casual reader who may, I don't know, dumbly, like I did, take a list and be like, oh, I bet I could read this book, I wouldn't recommend it. I think that there are other books that are classics that are probably better uses of your time. I'm about a third of the way through Kafka's The Trial right now, as well as Philip Roth's American Pastoral, and both of those I feel like are so far better uses of my time than Montaigne's essays. So, sorry, philosophy ? But I did enjoy this. I think that a lot of it's probably better to get a recap from people, a SparkNotes version, if you will, and just base that off of that and decide if you actually want to study this guy and go and read it then, rather than picking it up as it's said that it's important, so I'd like to read it type book. Anyway, we have reached the end of our route here. Like I said, it's a pretty good generalist route, but you will see that I grabbed a bunch of silk. We also have 2 Kuda, which is nice, and a shocking number of mundane runes. I feel like these days when I farm, it's either feast or famine for mundane runes. I either get 2 or I get like 40. So today is one of those feast days, and yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know if there's other places you want me to show you a good route in. I do have another route for Stonefalls that'll come up probably in a few weeks. But until then, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.